So in our Excel lesson 6, we are going to give an introduction to formulas. One of the most powerful features of Excel is the ability to calculate numerical information using formulas. That is the whole point of using Excel is, well, maybe not the whole point, but that is one of the primary points of Excel, is to organize data in such a way that you can easily perform calculations. Excel can add, subtract, multiply, divide. It can also calculate means. It can do basic statistical analysis. So in this lesson, we will be showing you how to use cells to create simple formulas. And then you will be practicing that over and over and over again all semester in your merchandising math labs and your homework and your exams. So a couple of things first off. Well, first of all, there is a practice worksheet that you can follow along with. So if you open up Excel Lesson 6 Practice Workbook, there are 2 tabs at the bottom, 2 worksheets. One is the practice, one is your assessment. So if you want to follow along and click along in the practice tab, you can, or if you want to just listen to the lecture and then do the assessment later, that is fine as well. The second thing is just some basic reminders about mathematical operators. Excel uses standard operators for formulas. So it uses a plus sign for addition, a minus sign for subtraction, an asterisk for multiplication, a forward slash for division, and then what we call a caret for exponents. You will not have to use exponents very often, if ever, in merchandising math, but just be aware of what that is and why you might see it. All formulas that you type into Excel must begin with an equal sign so that Excel knows that you are typing in a formula. If you are missing the equal sign, it will not know what you're doing and it will not do the calculation for you. So you will be using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division very frequently in merchandising math, and you will use that equal sign as well. While you can create simple formulas in Excel using numbers, for example, you can always go to a cell and type in you could type in equal sign 2 plus 2, enter, and it will tell you that it's 4. Or you could do equal sign 5 asterisk 5, enter, and it will tell you it's 25. Most of the time, though, you're not going to be typing in numbers in your formulas. Instead, you're going to use the cell addresses to create your formula. So this is known as making a cell reference. Cell references are going to ensure that your formulas are always accurate because you can change the value of the reference cell and it will automatically update the formula for you and you won't have to rewrite it. So if you had a 5 in this first cell and a 2, and then down in this type cell you typed equals 5 plus 2, it's going to tell you it's 7. But then at some point maybe you have to change the cell to be 7. And then you would have to remember to come back down to this cell and type in 7 in that cell. So get in the habit of using your cell addresses like A1, A2 in order to do your formulas so that you're not having to rewrite formulas. So in this particular image, we want to add 5 plus 2. We tell Excel to we start by putting the symbol equals, and then we tell it to add A1 plus A2. We hit enter, and it will tell us that that is equal to 7. You can, and anytime you hit enter, that's when Excel knows that your formula is done and it's ready to make the calculation. Then if you change anything, you change one of these numbers, the 5 or the 2, it's going to automatically recalculate that for you. The other thing to be aware of, so like in this case, I changed one of my cells to 6, it automatically updates my number to 8. You can physically type in those cell reference addresses. So you could type in equals A1 plus A2, or if you know that you're adding these 2 cells together, you could do equals, you type equals, and then you click on 5, type plus, click on A2, and it will know which cells you're trying to add. So there's a couple of different ways that you can actually create your formulas. You can also type your formula directly into your formula bar if you need to. By combining a mathematical operator, such as plus, minus, division, multiplication, so combining those operators with your cell references, like A1, A2, you can create a variety of very simple formulas in Excel. They can also include a combination of cell references and numbers, as in the examples that you see here. So in our first example, which is what we just did, equals A1 plus A2, we're going to be adding cells A1 and A2 together. In this particular instance, we are taking cell C4 and we're subtracting 3 from it. So it's a number that we're subtracting, not another cell. In our third example, we are taking cell E7 and we're dividing it by cell J4. Our fourth example, we are taking cell N10 and we are multiplying it by 1.05. And then R5 square rooted by 2. So this is going to find the square root of cell R5. Again, we don't do this very much in merchandising math, but you will do these top ones quite a bit. So how do we actually create a formula? Well, in our example, so this is coming now from that spreadsheet, that is practice spreadsheet, we are going to use a simple formula and cell references to calculate a budget. So we've entered in some numbers, we've made sure our numbers are formatted correctly, we're ready to actually run some calculations. So we're going to select the cell that will contain the formula. So in our example, we want to put a formula in cell D12, and it's going to be a very simple calculation of several different cells. Nothing too complicated here. So we're going to type the equal sign. So in my formula bar, or if right here, I've clicked there, I just type equals, it's going to appear both places, in your formula bar and in your cell. You have to remember that you always need that equal sign. If you don't have that equal sign, you're going to get a weird error message and it's not going to know what to do. So then I'm going to type in the cell address of the cell that I want to reference first in the formula. So remember, the cell address is the D whatever or the C whatever. So in this particular example, I want D10 to be the first number. So I'm going to either type D10 or I'm going to click D10. So I could literally type D10, or I could come over here and I could click. You're going to get a blue border around the cell that has been selected. That tells you that's your reference. You're also going to notice that in the cell where you are adding the formula, the font will be blue. So you'll always be able to connect which cell is which part of a formula. Okay. Then I need to tell the formula what mathematical operator I need. In our example, we want to add some numbers together, so I'm going to put in the addition sign. And then I'm going to provide the cell address of the second number that I want to add. In this case, I want to add D11, so I'm either going to type D11 or I'm going to click on D11. And this time, the cell is red and the font is also red. So I now can quickly see which cells are being added together in my formula. I'm done. That's all I need in this particular formula, so I'm going to hit enter and it's going to calculate it for me. It's going to make some assumptions about your currency, your format. It's going to assume you want to keep it. In currency, you're going to have to tell it differently if you want it to be different. If the result of a formula is too large to display it in a cell, it may appear as a bunch of pound signs instead of a value. This just means that your column is not wide enough to display your cell content, so you just simply need to increase the column width to show the cell content. It's not an error, it's not a mistake, nothing's wrong. You just need to widen that cell a little bit. The true advantage of using cell references in formulas rather than typing in numbers is that you can update data and you don't have to rewrite your formulas. So for example, we have modified our D10 cell from $1,200 to $1,800. So we actually budgeted $1,800 in June instead of $1,200. So $1,200. So I went ahead and I updated that cell, and it's automatically updating my overall total calculation for me. Sometimes Excel will tell you if there's an error in your formula. Not always, particularly if the error isn't really an error, but you have just put in your, you've put the formula in wrong. So it is really important that you always check your formulas and that you're really careful not to edit those formulas once they are in and are correct. So this is basically just kind of going through that you can create a formula by pointing and clicking, which I've already been talking about. So instead of typing in those cell addresses manually, you can just point and click on the cells that you want to include in your formula. This can actually save a lot of time and a lot of effort when you're creating your formulas. So in this particular case, we are going to select the cell that's going to contain the formula, which is going to be D4. So I've clicked on D4, and then I type in that equal sign so that I tell Excel that I want to start a formula, and I want the first number value I want is B4. So I'm going to click B4. I'm going to get that dotted blue border around there. Now I have to put in my mathematical operator. In this case, I am wanting to figure out my total price for all 15 of these, right? So I have bought 15 boxes of 100 pieces of plastic silverware. My unit price is $8.75. I want to know what my total price is going to be, so I'm going to multiply those two numbers together. So I'm going to do B4 asterisk, and then logically I'm going to click on my next cell, and that's going to, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to get my final number. And it's going to display it in that cell. Much faster actually than typing in those numbers yourself. Also much less likely to make a mistake. Formulas can be copied to adjacent cells with the fill handle. So remember that fill handle that we learned about several lessons ago, where you go down to the corner, you get that plus sign, and you drag. It is now going to apply the formula to all of the cells that you've just dragged it to, but it's going to use the numbers from the corresponding rows. So this number will be that times that, this number will be that times that, etc. Which is what has happened here. Sometimes you may want to modify an existing formula, so you may have accidentally put a wrong cell in a formula for whatever reason, so we need to correct it. So we just have to select the cell that contains the formula that we need to edit. Again, it's D12, so I'm going to select D12. I'm then going to go up into my formula bar, and I'm going to edit it. Maybe I wanted to add D10 instead of D9, which D9 is blank right now, right? So I'm just going to go up into my formula bar, and I'm going to click wherever I need to make the correction, and I'm going to say, okay, instead of D9, I want it to, or whatever, D10, I'm going to do my edits as I need it, and it will update it for you. You can always hit escape if you need to get out of your formula without making any changes, and then you can just hit escape, and it's kind of like that, SOS but escape. You won't make any changes. Okay, so that's the basic of formulas. Now what I need you to do is show me that you have figured out those basics. It will get a little bit more complicated as we progress. There's one more lesson left in these Excel lessons, and that is going over a little bit more complicated aspects of the formulas. So for now, go ahead and go into that Excel Lesson 6 practice workbook. There is the practice tab, and then there's the actual assessment tab. Make sure you're working in the assessment tab and saving it according to the instructions. Go through the steps, save it, upload it to Canvas, and then you'll be done with lesson number 6.